Warsaw has always been a very romantic city. Actually, when I was a child, and I love listening. I love music, and And today is very funny. When I first came out from, just about to come out from security, I can see Xiao's face looking at me. So it just I'm very thrilled to be here. But what I'm also very thrilled is to talk to you about open banking and smart data. I'm really happy to hear Alexei talking about smart data, because I also believe imagination is actually the power for us to go forward. And so we, although there are a lot of things like AI, open banking, they are very unfamiliar, and where it is going to go, and nobody can tell. But actually, it's often the people who takes the risk, who actually move further, fast, earlier, who will reap the reward. So I share the same sentiment with Alexei. So I'm going to, before that, I'd like to ask a few questions to you so I can understand you a bit better. So who have heard of open banking? Okay, good start. Yeah, great. Yeah, and who has who do you think understand what open banking means, just in a very very common term?
We can answer this question because we know a little bit about
yeah,
it.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So that's actually I think that's a very good start, because open banking has been actually a very early journey for many of us. It's started about 6 years ago, when the Europe and UK started this regulatory-driven open banking initiative. But before that, I think I will introduce myself first, and then I'll go into the topic. So I have been in the open banking and smart data for the last 7, 8 years, between Australia and UK. I was born in China, but I spent most of my childhood in Australia, and then I started my career in London, in UK. Then for the last 10 years, I've been working a lot around integrating data, looking at the data sharing in different industries, including the airlines and banking, and also in the government as well. And I saw that more and more this open concept has become a norm, because data is, what happens is that data really is an asset. Data has value. Then especially like the data of personal data, and your data and my data. Like for example, when I go shopping, or when I, even when I go to the hospital, so all this data actually has value, and it's really a big deal. And that's why open banking has started, because data has value, and we need to make sure that we, as the owner of the data, has the right to our data. So that's the starting part of open banking. Then myself, in the last 5 years, has been working in open banking in different areas of industry. So I've been working in the banks in Australia and in the UK on open banking. And in the last couple of years, I work in a company called OPIE. So in UK, there's an open banking standard setting body looking after setting the standard for the whole of the UK banks and the innovation companies to work on the open data. So I was their chief product officer. So I kind of took on a more of a regulatory standard setting head when I was working there. And now I set up my own company. So I work on research on smart data to see how do we take the open banking asset into open finance and smart data, then to basically to try to move it to the next level. But before I lose you, I'm going to take you through probably just an introduction about open banking, about what is open banking, what is smart data, and why it is important, and what challenges you may face if you are going to implement open banking, and also if your company want to have a open banking capability, what sort of strategy you may want to adopt to use the ecosystem to help you to create a open banking based solution. So I'm going to do that. First of all, I want to tell you a bit of background of open banking. So basically, starting about 6-7 years ago, so in the UK and Europe, there are two main initiatives. In the UK, there are what we call is CMA 9. So 9 biggest banks has been ordered by the government to share their data, the customer personal data for free for the payment-related activities. There are two different things. One is we call it payment initiation, basically receive a bank account. So you take out all of the physical card altogether, but use digitization to make the transaction happen. Then using technology, open banking will help you to have a much secure transaction and also real-time transaction. So basically use digital technology to do banking. That's kind of largely about open banking. That's one is making payment, and the other is about your bank account. If you use open banking, you can switch from your one bank account to the other bank account using your app within a few seconds. Well, that's a dream, but I think that's a lot of kind of drive of the banks or innovation companies trying to make that happen in the last few years. And indeed, there are a lot of success. So in the last years, for example, in the UK, there are up to 20% or 17 to 20% of customers, personal customer has been using open banking, and also 1 in 5 small businesses has been using open banking. Although the number is very small, it's only 20%, but it's actually quite a big shift from the way we have been using making payment, and so it has been quite a big progress. And then in Europe also there are regulatories doing creating the similar kind of initiatives. So there are 2 regulations. There is a PSD2 regulation. So basically, there are number of member states in Europe working with the banks to basically force banks to share the data to the third party innovators. So the third party innovators will create applications for the customers. Very innovative applications. Then basically the app. So using the phone, you can make payment, or you can do other related open banking related transactions. So that has been successful as well. But outside of Europe, there are a number of other continents and countries have been doing very successfully of open banking too. Like in Brazil, they have something called PIX. So they use open banking to help unbanked, like a lot of unbanked customers to be able to make payments. So by doing that, they can achieve financial inclusion. And also in Australia, they are doing open banking, in Singapore, in India. And so, it becomes more and more of a trend to shift the way that we do banking payments. Then Alexia was talking earlier about smart data. That's quite interesting because open banking, what it really does is just sharing data, securely sharing data, and at the same time protect the customer's privacy. So that's open data sharing. But open banking only focuses on one element, which is the payment element. Then there are the next level of open banking is open finance. So open finance will open the data out to other sectors, including insurance, mortgage, savings, lending, and pension, etc. Basically, holistically, your financial services needs can be taken care of through this open finance. Then what we are currently working on in UK, we have a new initiative. It's quite a key government-driven initiative. It's called Smart Data. So smart data pushes it into the next level. So what smart data is saying that let's share the data not only within financial services, but also in other sectors like in energy or transport, education, supply chain, healthcare, etc. Basically, for all of the needs that a customer have, then we can share the data across so that we can make data really create more value for the customers. Then what does the open banking or this open finance smart data mean to you? I'd like to take you through a journey. Hopefully that will give you a better, kind of more intimate understanding about smart data. So imagine that when a baby, say my niece is born, a baby is born. So by the time that the baby is born, there is already data created because there is your birthday and your name and also your genetic kind of condition, your health condition. So all this data actually has value. And in the future, this data will affect your life a lot because, for example, if someone later on, you get sick, you need to go to the hospital, then right now, this data doesn't exist in all of the required places like medical centers or doctors' places. But imagine from the time when the baby is born, then all this data can be captured and with your consent or maybe the parents' consent to be stored and securely processed and shared among every single hospital, emergency health centers, and the GP's offices. Then it will create such a good medical treatment for you going forward as a person, and so that will create much better result using data to help our humans' lives. Then I'll take another example. So when the baby, after maybe 6-7 years, and and they will go to school and receive college education. So this education right now is right now. So if I go to a university, I will apply for a student ID. Then I'll get some courses from different departments. And if I select law, then I can go to different courses. But imagine if we can have one student ID that can be shared by many different universities across Poland or even across Europe, so that I can use my student ID to get access to the courses in King's College in the UK, or a student in the UK can get a really good course from a professor in Poland about art, just with one student ID, and because the data has already been unified. What kind of education that will be when we have that developed? And that can be possible because we can use the data to use, now it's more like a smart data, because the educational data to be unified across different business sectors and different countries, so that we can make this sort of kind of transformative education happen. So that, to me, that's the power of smart data and open banking and beyond, because we can really use data to create a lot of new opportunities. So that's why a lot of people call open data the art of possibility. I feel it's the same. Basically, we can imagine what can be made possible, and then we can use data to make it happen. Yeah, to put it in simple terms. Maybe I will give you another example. I think that's actually been quite explored in the UK. It's about buying a house. So right now, for example, when I buy a house in UK, sometimes the application process is very cumbersome. So I need to search for a house I like, and also I apply for mortgage. And mortgage will require a lot of paperwork. So I need to get a credit, and I need to go through different procedures to get a mortgage. And then I luckily, if nothing falls through, I might be able to get my house. Sometimes I don't, because something wrong will go wrong in the process. But using open banking, then we could say, what if we can have the data available for from multiple mortgage providers? Then that can be processed to can be automated, so that data can be used for digitized and made in real time for me buying a house, and also my preference can be used to be added into that data. So with artificial intelligence and with data analysis, and this data can help me to combine with my mortgage data and also banking data. So I will be able to reduce the mortgage buying time from 3 months to a day or 2 days. So with open banking and open finance, that can be made possible. So that just a kind of a few examples to illustrate the power of smart data and open banking. And also it also has the power to shift the industry as well, to help the industry to be able to commercialize and to basically make money, to continue to invest. I may give you one example, because there are quite a lot, like healthcare. So right now, say for example, my grandmother, and if she has some heart problems, right now she goes to the GP, so she goes to the hospital and receive treatment. But right now there are a lot of really interesting capabilities from the data sharing to make it much better. Like for example, I don't know whether you know that there are, in hospital they have this kind of digital appliance to put in the spine, or to put in somewhere like in your bodies, that can monitor your body's condition, and then at the same time, if say the open data has already enabled the medical premises to have the data unified. So imagine if that open banking has been implemented in the next few years, then we can provide the patient the preventative treatment. So immediately when there's something wrong, if say my grandmom has a heart problem, then before that, the symptoms can already be detected with the variable thing in her body. And then the medical center can be notified before that happens, so that very in-time treatment can be given to her even before she has a heart failure. So that sort of preventative treatment will not only help the patients to receive in-time treatment, it will also help the health services companies to reduce cost, because it's a preventative treatment rather than lengthy hospital treatment when things do occur, terrible things do occur. So that's another example of how smart data will support our society to transform to become a smarter society. Then there are actually, it's not an easy road to get there. To be able to implement smart data, in my view, it will take decades. It's not something that automatically happen. Number of challenges. The first challenge is investment, because to be able to have that technology available, all of the involved companies, businesses like banks or hospitals, or if we are talking about unifying the data for transport, better transportation company, they have to invest to create APIs. Sorry, maybe to create the technologies to make the infrastructure happen. So when I say API, it's a bit of a technology term. It's more about using digital technology to create an interface, so that interface can be standardized and be shared upon different participants. So that's a challenge. And also from human point of view, if I have a hospital, I want to implement this really great capability, do I have my team able to do that? So how do I skill up my team to do this? So this is actually, we were talking about earlier, how do we have the workforce able to kind of learn about open banking and AI to make things happen. So that's another challenge. Interoperability is a challenge because to be able to have the businesses sharing data, then every business they are implemented in different way, and how do you make sure that the data will flow through very smoothly? That's something to think about. Regulation also is a very interesting thing, and similar to AI, technologies is very neutral. You can create a really good product for insurance, for example, but if the algorithm for calculating the insurance is not ethical, then you are creating technology not for good, but actually is for the opposite. So regulation has to step up to help our citizens to transform our life to the better using technology, but not to the worse. So I think that actually shares a lot of similarity to AI as well, because we need to we need to work together to make sure that our technology is actually supporting us. That's a quite interesting challenge. Then I won't go through all of them, but the other one is customer adoption. So the reason why not many people know about open banking after 6 years is not because open banking is not good enough, but it's because it hasn't been able to demonstrate the power or the benefit enough that actually everyone start to readily use it. Because even the term open banking sometimes sounds really scary. I don't know how you feel, like open my bank or open my bank account. But so that just means that there are so much learning we can do. So that's why I think we call it smart data rather than open data, because it's smart. It's something that easier for customer to use and to trust. So therefore, trust is a big thing within open banking and open finance, because without customer trusting it and to wanting to invest in it, to use it, then there's no adoption. And without adoption, then there's no investment. So you go through that loop if trust is not there. Then there is a difference, quite a big difference between how open banking works and the traditional application technology works. I see the difference lies in the ecosystem, because in open banking and smart data, open finance, we rely on not only one business, but actually a value chain of business to make a one product work. So there are different players in this ecosystem. There's data providers. So if I want to do open banking payment, then the banks, they are the providers. So they are one player. And also there's data consumers. So there are a lot of fintech companies in open banking. They create an app. So the app will have a lot of very interesting features so that customer will be able to use to adopt open banking. So those app creators and fintech companies, they are data consumers. Then there's also other companies like API management companies or cloud computing companies, technology providers. They support both the data consumers and data providers to make open banking happen. Then as I was talking about earlier, before regulation, I felt, even myself, I felt sometimes is a term I'm feared of. But actually, regulation or regulatory bodies they have a very big role in this whole value chain, because they basically need to help to moderate the impact of open banking technology to make sure that the technology is created for good. So that's, and also setting the standards. So they are quite key. And last but not least is the customer, because is basically customer is the center at the center of open banking, because the data is all come from the customer. It's our data, and the data needs to work for us. And so that's also one of the players. And for any open banking product to work, and all this has to work. And if imagine the product stop in the data consumer, in that player's corner, so the app doesn't work, then you won't be able to deliver the product. Or the banks, they refuse to share data, or the quality of the data is poor, then the product wouldn't work as well. So it's really an ecosystem effort. Then to be able to make this work, and I have worked with some of my team on looking at the strategy about how do we put together the strategy, put together the customer value and the incentive for the industry to create a smart data technology. So we created this high-level framework, which looks at how do we start with the customer need as a North Star to create the initiative that would help with the open banking and smart data creation. Actually, this I have been sharing with the regulatory and government bodies, because open banking and smart data is not only the ecosystem initiative, it actually involves a lot of different regulatory bodies, because imagine right now we do open banking, we have the banking industry. But if we extend our data sharing to energy or to health and to others, there will need to also be regulated from those areas as well. So how would different regulators work together to help the open banking data sharing to be successful? Is actually very complex. So to make the complex simple, then the biggest North Star is the customer. So we look at how we can support the customer, which problem we try to help customers to solve. Like for example, in the UK, we can look at do we want to improve clean energy, or do we want to help to the NHS, or the medical service, to become much more efficient. So those key initiative, and if the whole ecosystem, we all look at it, then from each of the players, and we can help to contribute to make it happen. And then in the industry, there are shared capabilities, and to focus each areas of smart data, because there are not only technology that needs to make it work, so there are also business models that need to contribute to the smart data creation. When I say business models, it's actually quite complicated, because, like for example, last year in the UK, when I was as part of the future entity definition group, we have been looking at the liability models, the funding models, the pricing models, because outside of technology, when technology has become product to be pushed into the business, all this has to be considered. Otherwise, it wouldn't create a viable product for the society. Then there are also other elements, like how artificial intelligence can help accelerate open banking, and vice versa, and also learning from other countries as well. So it's quite a very complicated initiative, but the key is that if we can focus on one or two really important problems to solve, like for example, how do we work together to make the house buyers more efficient, and that's already a very good problem to solve. And how do we reduce the energy consumption? That's another good problem to solve. So then we can make meaningful changes to make open banking and smart data really create transformative impact to us, to our lives, and to our society. So yeah, with that, and if there's any questions, and please do ask me and here, or maybe you can email me as well.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How can I be ensured that my personal data protected, and how I can be ensured that in future they will not be used against me?
Yeah, that's a very, very, very good question. Sorry, I actually didn't mention that. So a big part of open banking challenge is about privacy, because if I'm sharing my data, how do I make sure that my data doesn't get landed to bad players' hands? So one key element of open banking is privacy. So I have to get your consent. So anytime there is a data sharing occurs, consent has to happen. And there's another thing about consent is you can withdraw your consent at any time. Because say if I share my data to Amazon, I don't want Amazon to share further to another different applications or different person. So consent is a key element of open banking that needs to be ensured for the trust of like you and others to be able to use it. Yeah, with that.
And who is the guarantee of this data savings? Because if I share my data with some service, who guarantee that it will be saved just for this particular industry, not industry, but client or business?
Who is the guarantee of the
Who guarantee the privacy?
Oh, right, I see, yeah. So that actually touches on another element is that to be able to make it work, right now there are two different schools. One school is regulatory-driven open banking, and there's another different kind of open banking. Is that in America they do market-driven open banking. So in the UK, for example, we do regulatory-driven open banking. Then there is a monitoring body. To answer your question, then we need to make sure that there has to be specific standards to ensure that if I do follow this, or if I don't follow this consent procedure, then there has to be consequences. Then all this needs to be put together in a very clear standard to be shared across the industry. Once the standard is created, then there needs to be a very effective monitoring and also dispute processes just to make sure that this right thing is followed. Is actually very important. It is get followed to gain your trust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there any specific organization regulated by government?
Yeah. So again, maybe I'll take a UK as an example. The government has been asking, like 6 years ago, the banks to share the data. At the same time, there has been a body has been created called Open Banking Implementation Entity. So that was where I used to work in, to serve as a standard setting body. So the standard has been created on different areas, including the customer experience. So how this consent journey flows, or how the data sharing journey flows, and so that everyone knows how to work in this ecosystem. Then there are also security standards. There's a minimal security has to be applied, like in FAPI is like what we use to make sure that the API standards are satisfying at least the minimal level. And there's a trust services, trust framework, that's also performed by this standard setting body, so OBIE, Open Banking and Implementation Entity, to have a very rigorous process to monitor who actually comes into this ecosystem. So if you are a bank, or you are the producer of the data, or you are a third-party player, and so you are the consumer of the data. So all your details are actually, you have to apply for it. You need to register into this trust framework. What we call in the UK is called the registry. But yeah, basically that registry will hold your information to ensure that only the recognized players can get into it, and so that there is a very strict security ensured for participant to participate in the open banking. I think it's getting more and more common these days, even like in the US. So they started this Section 1033 rule. It's also a more of an open regulatory driven open banking approach. And so what we just talked about, the standards are being implemented and will be reinforced for the participants to follow. So there are like, I think I read it, there are a number of categories of compliance. So they start with the biggest bank, so like probably a few of the biggest banks, the US bank to start with. Then it moves down to less, like smaller banks and smaller banks. So I think that process will take about at least 3 or 4 years to complete. But it looks like US is also looking to having this regulatory standardization to support the industry to move more into more of secured and trust-driven open banking. Yeah.